A very good morning to you all, and it is a pleasure to address you all about briefly about laboratory errors in this program organized by Mindray. We all know that errors are part and parcel of our day-to-day practice in the medical laboratory, and we are also aware that the chances of error are much more when you have the manual procedures with the human involvement is more. So they say, as they say, to err is human. And they also say to forgive is divine. But then I'm sure we all cannot expect our patients to forgive us for errors that we make in their report, and as a consequence of which they would have had some wrong treatment or they would have suffered some kind of a harm. So it is all the more important that we need to ensure that we identify these errors and bring in steps to control them and minimize errors in the laboratory. The whole concept or the awareness of errors and in the healthcare system actually came up with this landmark publication as you see on your screen, and there were startling revelations made in this publication, and it stated that almost 50,000 to 100,000 people in the United States at that period of time, 2019, and they had serious injuries or they even died. I mean, 1999, they had serious injuries or even they died as a result of medical errors. This was in the healthcare as such. And it was realized at that time that healthcare is about a decade or more behind many other high risk industries, like you take aviation industry and so on. So compared to those industries, healthcare industries was at least a decade behind in their safety measures and in the error reduction measures. Now, there was also another article in the Times of India in 2016, which clearly stated that if medical error could be considered as a disease, then in the United States it would have been the third largest killer. But unfortunately, these do not get into the records as death or injury due to medical errors. And in the Indian scenario, there were not too many there's not too much of work done in the Indian scenario, but there were a couple of publications of work done in the Harvard University, which stated that about 5.2 million injuries occur in India each year. That was at that time due to medical errors and the adverse events. Now, the impact of this article also had a fallout in the medical diagnostic laboratories. And there was a wonderful article published in June 2016 in the Archives of Pathology in Laboratory Medicine, which discussed in length about implications for the pathology lab from this particular the report on diagnostic error. So this is how it is at this situation, and we also agree that errors are part and parcel of our day-to-day work. Now, knowing fully well that we cannot seek forgiveness, are we going to aim and are we going to achieve zero error? We are all aware that even the laboratory which has achieved 6 sigma, there is always an element of error, 3.44 defects per million. And we also are aware that most of our diagnostic laboratories somewhere fall somewhere between 3.5 and 4.5. Average, above average labs would fall above 4, that is between 4 and 5. But still the number of errors are around 6,000 defects per million. So though we may aspire to achieve zero error, we may not be able to actually achieve zero error. So we need to look at minimizing errors as much as possible. Now, if broadly, if you look at error situations, you could put them into three bullet points. One is the failure to provide required information. That is, your communication itself is inadequate. Number two is a delay in providing the required information, because even a good report delivered late to the patient may actually have led to an adverse effect on the patient. And third is providing information that is wrong and that is inaccurate. So if you look at the medical report or diagnostic report, these are the three categories which could constitute an erroneous report. Now, how do we go about managing these errors in the lab? The first step would be to identify the error. The second would be to understand the root cause of the error by asking the error situation a number of questions. Ask why, and generally the fourth or fifth question, when you ask why did this happen, you may come to the root cause. And then once you come to the root cause, it should immediately have the actions, corrective and preventive actions. These should be put in place, and then follow up the effectiveness of implementation so that these errors do not recur in the laboratory. Now, if you talk about how we identify the errors and what are the steps we need to ensure that the errors are identified, as many errors are identified in the laboratory, we need to understand that errors could be of two broad categories. One is the visible error and the invisible error. Visible errors are easy to detect. You may have a report which is very absurd in its value, and at first glance you know that this is not a report that can be released. And the clinician also, if by chance they receive a report, they are not going to take any action or modify the treatment based on that absurd value. Obviously, they would get back to the laboratory and seek a clarification. Majority of the errors are hidden. They are the invisible errors because we they are hidden in the broad bulk of your normal reports. So if the most of the tests, if they are normal or near normal, they get hidden. And if an error is there, a normal report which is interchanged with another normal report still is normal, but it is actually an erroneous report, but it might not have had an impact on the patient. But in the long run, if you look at it, these so-called hidden errors may be detected pretty late, and by which time there could be a potential of having harmed the patient. So majority of errors in the lab are invisible. Almost 75% of errors produce results that are within the normal range and they are difficult to detect. And only about 12.5% of errors are those errors which actually have a clinical impact. But nevertheless, we need to make sure that each and every error that occurs in the lab is identified and immediately it is controlled, and before the error reaches out of the laboratory. So to identify the errors, we need to bring about certain mindset changes in our employees. Very fact that we are bringing in this exercise of identifying errors, the culture should change from fault finding to opportunities for improvement. The more errors you identify and analyze them, the more the opportunities for improvement. Now, the management also needs to change their approach to these errors, because most of the times errors are not caused by bad people. It is caused by good or not bad people who are working in a bad system. So the management needs to see whether the system needs to be changed, processes needs to be changed to ensure that the employees are able to identify and control these errors. So a lot of training and counseling may be required for this, bringing about this mindset change. Now, the other is to ensure that the recording mechanisms of these, once errors are identified, recording mechanism should be readily available, and people should not search for the records, or it should not be a very laborious process. That itself is a major deterrent to recording the errors. And third is efficient and effective follow-up actions. Then understanding the root cause of the error, again we need to find out why the error has happened. If you put it broadly, now a human error could occur in two major areas. Errors in well-known, often repeating activities. the same activity being done day in and day out, we would not expect an error to happen there because the person is actually set, the mind is set, the hands are set, but still repetitive activities can be a source of errors due to fatigue, due to interruption, distraction, time pressure, anxiety, fear, or just sheer boredom of doing the same activity over and over again. So these could be human factors that contribute to the repeating errors in the repeating activity. On the other side, you have complex activities which are sequential and which are well set, and they may be problem solving activities, but the errors can happen there due to misinterpretation, lack of knowledge, lack of proper training. So human errors could be categorized into two broad aspects here. And it is important for the system to understand that the humans have intellectual strengths and limitations. Improving safety requires respecting human abilities, encouraging those abilities, and designing processes that recognize human strength and human weaknesses. We are also aware that majority of laboratory errors do not occur in the analytical aspect. We've brought in a wonderful system of checks and balances and controls in the analytical process, but good number of errors do occur in the pre-examination or pre-analytical and the post-examination areas. These are sometimes hidden, they are not easily detectable. Now, it is very important to understand here that the actual impact of the error depends on whether it is detected before the report is released or after the report is released. And you know the answer here. It's always very important. It is imperative that error should be detected and contained before the report is released. Errors that cannot be completely eliminated should be accepted, and you should be aware that you may not be able to bring in a zero error system. You have a minimal error system. So there is always some residual error which you accept. You're aware of that residual error. You bring in checks and balances to identify these errors before the report is released. So the lab should design, manage, and innovate processes to ensure that errors are detected before the report is actually released from the lab. So this can be done by building in multiple checkpoints. And these checkpoints, each of them should be highly efficient. You should not presume that the previous checkpoint has already done its job, so you can be relaxed in the next checkpoint. If that happens, then we land up with what is called as a Swiss cheese phenomenon. There are loopholes in every checkpoint, and if these loopholes are aligning together, then the error will pass through without being detected, and that may cause a harm situation for the patient. So having given this introduction, we'll go through three simple scenarios: pre-analytical, analytical, and post-analytical, and come across, and I will discuss about very simple process changes that can help in containing these errors. The first error is the very common thing which we have: the wrong identification of the patient. Could be mislabeling, could be interchange of samples, interchange of labels, and so on. So the example here is two samples of CBC had questionable values. This is how it was detected. Hemoglobin of one patient was normal and the other was very low. And a feedback came from the clinician saying that you have given a normal hemoglobin value for a person who has always had a very low hemoglobin, and vice versa. So this is an error situation. You trace it back. It is due to a mix up of the labeling. Now, to avoid this, in the system, we bring in an automated process where it's an LIS integrated tube labeler. But then problems do occur even in such a situation, because if the patient registration itself is wrong, then the labels generated are wrong. So we build a checkpoint in this area to minimize, even in the automated system, to minimize labeling errors. We bring in a mechanism where The phlebotomist will actually show the labels to the patient and get a confirmation that these labels actually belong to him. The names actually are what he has declared as his name. So that kind of minimizes errors in this area. But the other areas where in labeling you can have an error, the error is where you have a manual mechanism where numbers are written by pen. That is a serious risk for errors to happen, but barcoding itself has minimized those errors. But even in an automated system, if there's an LIS disruption and you have a backup plan but your people are not trained on the backup plan, that itself can give rise to errors. We do have such situations day in and day out, even though we've automated the process. The simple mistake which people do is they collect the blood sample and then try to label it. And if there are 2 or 3 samples which are there, then obviously there is a chance for confusion. So it is always good practice to first label the tube, then collect the sample. It is always good practice to complete collection and labeling of one patient at a time. Now, the other analytical area where we thought there is an error is the high number of retesting. Retesting itself delays the report. The turnaround time is prolonged, so the reports get delayed. So this is because we had a very stringent process where every abnormal results used to be retested. But then we realized that if we go back to the previous values of the patient and do a delta check and see that the patient has a known history of a high or an abnormal value and the current value is not significantly different, then we could release these reports without a retesting. So turnaround time could improve. But then we needed to do this manually, go back to the records, fish out manually the previous reading. So if we brought in a system of automated retrieval of data just with the click of a button, then that eased out the entire process. And this is how we brought in the delta check mechanism. We have in our own LIS, we have a tab in the report section, which is delta. And this delta gives us the previous 6 readings of the patient, previous historical readings of the patient. And this retest has significantly reduced the retesting. Now, the third is the post-examination transcriptional error, manual entry of blood group, a simple test like blood group, a B positive blood group entered as O positive can be catastrophic to the lab, and people would laugh at the lab saying that you have given a wrong blood group report, such a simple test. This happened to us on more than one occasion, and that is where we thought we should bring in a foolproof checking mechanism, because the entries are definitely bound to have errors. So we thought we'll bring in a checking mechanism. And where the results are interface, we are not bothered about it. Errors are not occurring there. But when the results are manually entered, we brought in a mechanism where each and every blood group, the images are captured and stored in the LIS, and these are verified by the pathologist when they are checking out or signing out the report. The process is very simple. We have a camera, or you can have even a simple IP camera, or most of our people now use a smartphone. And this smartphone has an app, integrates the image to the particular ID number of that patient, and it gets stored in the LIS. And in the LIS, you could take an image by clicking on that camera, that image button, and that automatically stores the image in the against the patient ID. And we almost everything in the lab under the roof, we take images right from the histopathology, microbiology, and so on. So images are captured of all activities that we are doing in the laboratory. So the take home message here is errors are part and parcel of the lab. We should accept that fact. A mistake is only a mistake if you do not learn something from it. And what is very important is if there has been an error, we have to accept the error, we have to own up the error. Please, for heaven's sake, do not cover up one error with another lie or another mistake, because it's going to pull you into a whirlpool of excuses and you will get caught. And what is also important is once you have accepted the error, you always assure your patient or your customer that you'll come back with the corrective action, communicate this corrective action to them, and that is where the confidence level of the patient in your own laboratory work is going to tremendously increase. So thank you very much. I hope you can all bring in small modifications in your workflow processes. With this, I conclude my talk. I hope I've communicated the importance of bringing in process changes in these error management, and have a wonderful day. Thank you all.